Hello, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and if it's morning where you are, hi, this is Pimo, and welcome to Conversations with Pimo. Hello, everyone. It will be nice, as we always do, to know where you're tuning in from. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube. So you can just do a thumbs up, you can do a hello, you can do Pimo, I can hear you, I can see you. Welcome to Conversations with Pimo, and we started a brand new series this month of July, and this is the second episode. Last week was amazing. It was amazing. Good evening, tuning in from Ibadan. God bless you. You're welcome. Come on, people. Let's tag our friends on Facebook. Let's, send reminders out. We are back again, with conversations with Pimo. And we are on this series. What is your story? What is your story? What is your story? Come on, people. Come on, people. Hi. This is Maureen. This is Pimo. And welcome to Conversations with Pimo. My guest is right, in the backstage, and she's ready to roll with us. And I am so looking forward to such an amazing time. Last week we had Irene Bangwell, and it was nothing short of inspirational. I mean, it was nothing short of inspirational. Sharing her life journey, sharing her mistakes, sharing, her vulnerability, sharing, her journey, sharing how it has been, the story so far, sharing her wins and sharing, everything about how, she got to where she is today. And she admitted she is a woman on purpose. She's still on purpose. She hasn't reached that destination, and like we always say, you don't get to your destination, just like that. No, it doesn't just happen like that. No, your destination, you keep at it. There's no time you get to a point and then you say, I've arrived, I have fulfilled purpose. You can only say that like Jesus at the end of your life, or you say that like Paul when he said, I've run the race. So yeah, but until your last breath, you are still fulfilling purpose. So come on, people. This is Conversations with Pimo, and welcome to What is Your Story? I am particularly, intrigued about people's story, because I believe that their journey through life, good evening, you're welcome. Their journey through life is laced in between their stories, is laced in between their stories. That's just it. Whatever it is, wherever, there's nobody you want to tell me today on earth how far they've come. By the time they tell you their story, I mean, we read stories of people. These people in the Bible, they're not uh they're real human beings. They walked upon this earth. The likes of Joseph, come on. I mean, the likes of Joseph, that his brothers were ready to sell him. In fact, they had intentions of killing him. But at some point, by the mercy of God, they sold him, and he lost contact with them for close to 13 years. I mean, and he became a prime minister. We talk about that story today, and it's so exciting. And we're wondering, oh, wow. But the truth is, it did really happen. It's not folktales, it did really happen. You talk about David, that was always left by himself, battled with the bear, battled with the lion. I mean, the lady, my guest today, was sharing with me just before this conversation started, you know, don't let me let the cat out of the bag. When she comes, we're going to drill in. But really, inspiring story of a young lady who, against all odds, decided to make meaning of her life. And I think that a lot of people find themselves in that situation. The truth is, a lot of people at some point in time find themselves in that situation. Your mother dies, your father dies, you're left alone, you have to hustle, you have to find your way through school. I mean, a number of people in this side of the world have found themselves in that situation one time or the other. Some have made terrible decisions. So for those of you that are familiar, there's this YouTube series, Soft White Underbelly. They interview a lot of homeless people, drug addicts, prostitutes, mostly ladies on the street. And the truth is, by the time you hear their story, abandoned by father, raised by stepfather, was molested for years by stepfather, and then they ran away from home, it always starts with a very sad story. But somehow they didn't make the right choices. Somehow life didn't deal them anything so nice. Somehow they found themselves on the other side of life. And today they're drug addicts. Today they're homeless. Today they're neck deep into prostitution. Today they're neck deep into crack, as in they're neck deep into all sorts of atrocities. Why? Because something happened in their past. They lost a loved one that should have been there, that could have been there. So today we have a wonderful, I'm just going to read her profile just before she comes. But you guys know that the profile thing is just for familiarity, but you guys know that. It's just to just get ourselves here. We are going to dig deep beyond that profile, but it's just okay to have an idea of the person that we're bringing up today. I know some of us watching already know her. Probably you've heard a story before, because she's quite vocal about it on social media. But today we're just going to be digging in, and just, gleaning one or two things. And I believe that when people share their story, it also delivers hope. It delivers hope. It tells somebody else, you can actually see yourself. There's a scripture in the Bible that says there's no temptation overtaking you that is common to man. So when you hear somebody else's story, you're like, oh, wow, okay. I didn't even go through as much. That's what often happens. Or you're like, wow, this person actually went through what I am going through right now. And then you begin to glean from their story. You begin to glean, from their journey through life. And the truth is that most of my guests are not here because they've arrived. They're not here because they are like, oh, we've made it in life. Now we have reached the top. No, they are still work in progress. They're still, journeying through life. They're still enjoying God's grace and God's favor. So they are just sharing with us, how far the story is, how far they've come with the story of their life. So who is Atinuke? I was going to say Atinuke Junai. She's going to have my head for that. Atinuke Dami Yakubu. So she is a multi-talented fashion entrepreneur, a photographer, and a data analyst committed extensively to value creation, societal development, and the empowerment of the girl child. Now you're going to understand why she's so particular about the girl child. A graduate of microbiology. Well, I can farms a bit with that. I'm a graduate of microbiology as well. From Moshood Abiola Polytechnic. Atinuke is the creative director of 313 Signatures and Tinuke Yakubu Photography. She is also the founder of Safe and Smart Foundation for Girls, a non-profit organization focused on menstrual hygiene management for girls in rural community. Babes Redefined has, at one time partnered with Safe and Smart, on this project. Atinuke, who has built several businesses over the last few years and has led several youth and women empowerment programs and conferences, is a strong believer in the power of entrepreneurship. You see that from her post from time to time. Teamwork, strategic collaboration, volunteering, and proactivity in achieving the desired future we all hope for. So with a warm welcome, she is commuting right now, so please pardon her. Receive with us Atinuke Dami Yakubu. Could you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, thank you so much.
Hello.
The profile,
You
the
set the
profile is
profile, oh.
get.
You sent the profile. I did not put the profile together. I'm sure you were wondering, is it me they are still introducing like this?
Auntie,
Oh my goodness, you're welcome. It's so nice to
Thank
have you
you. Thank you.
on
Thank you so
Conversations with
much. So
Pimo.
happy to be here.
Yes, and
I apologize. I'm still like 8 minutes out.
it's fine.
But yeah.
It's fine. We understand how these things can be. And like I said, Conversations with Pimo is a bit informal. So relax, don't worry. We're just going to have fun. We're just going to flow. And we trust God to have a wonderful time together. So once again, you are welcome to Conversations with Pimo.
Thank
And I
you.
was teasing you some minutes ago that your husband must be doing a wonderful job because your cheeks have come out. Because your cheeks have come out just like my own. You're welcome. You're welcome. I
Thank you,
remember
man.
the
Thank you.
first time I met you face to face. That was
Mm.
at Oshobo. That's the first time
Oshogo,
when you
wow,
came
yeah, that's true.
for Babes You Define third anniversary, I believe, or was it second? It was second anniversary. It was our
Second
second
anniversary.
anniversary.
Yeah,
Yes, and that
yeah.
was my first time of seeing you.
Meeting
And I
you.
know that you have been, a follower of Babes You Define. You've been committed even before then. But seeing you for the first time, that retreat we had gladdened my heart. You came all the way from Abeokuta. You were not married. You didn't have
Mm.
your businesses at that time. You were still a
Yes.
student, I believe. This
Yes.
was like 2011 or 12, 2012,
Yeah.
thereabout. And
Yeah.
watching you all these years, it gives me great joy to see the woman that you are becoming. And when we started putting together the list of the guests we wanted to have, we said we had to have Atinuke on this show to share her story. Now, I would confess I don't exactly know the full story. I've heard it in bits here and there, but I'm hoping that today we'll be able to, hear from you, the story and the journey so far and what it has been like, and all of that. So, if I'm going to start, I would like to ask, what is your story, Atinuke? In a nutshell, if you were to summarize your story in a nutshell, what is Atinuke Dami Yakubu's story?
I would say that I usually give this analogy. I think it's been a while since I've given this analogy that if there is, the way we do theses and projects,
Yeah,
if someone wants to do a thesis or a project
yeah,
on favor, I'm being favored,
okay.
like I would, my life will be a case study.
Wow,
Yeah, so
wow,
it's going to be a case study because I look back and as a believer, I know that it's my story is something that can inspire faith and make people also know that there's nothing that one can do with one's power really, but
right,
you
right,
know just leaning on God and leaning on not your understanding, not about
right,
who you know or what you know, but
right,
following God at every step
right.
and at every point, even when you feel like God is not there, right?
Mm,
Because countless of time I've felt that way. That
mm,
is it just me? Like, is
wow,
God really, really there for me? And coming from the kind of background that I came from,
right,
as a former Muslim,
right,
and you're wondering how, oh, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. I feel like my life should be better than this,
right,
and all. But knowing that even during that time of doubt, of of second guessing my faith in God, or second guessing the love of God for me, God
right,
was still right there. In
right
retrospect,
there,
He was actually
right,
still right there.
right.
So yeah.
Right, right, awesome. So if we go to the very beginning of this story, I know that you lost your mom at a very early age. So give us a bit of background, to a bit of foundation laying to your background. You said you were a Muslim. So you were a Muslim up
Yeah.
until when? You were raised a Muslim. And then at what point did you lose your mom? What exactly happened, and all of that? Do you want us to,
Okay.
are you home already? Do you want us to give you a minute?
No, there's actually a traffic on that road leading to my house.
Okay,
So,
awesome. So
but
we can
I
keep
should,
talking.
yeah, we can keep talking. So, what happened? So basically, my dad and my mom were Muslims, right?
Right.
But I was still pretty young. But my mom had started, leaning towards being a Christian, and there were
Okay.
pullbacks at every point in time. You know,
Okay.
when she could be allowed to go to church, maybe for some
Okay.
months, and then my dad would just say, maybe they have a fight or something, and he would just be like, "That church, you're not going to church again."
Wow.
So, and
Wow.
then so it was kind of on and off, right?
Right.
But there was at some point my mom actually, put her feet down, and she was
Did you
like,
used to
no,
go with
that she
her to
wants to.
church at those times?
Yes, we attended several churches, CAC. There was a time where it was even at a point it was like, oh, you can go to church, but don't take my kids.
Okay.
So there was that point at that time too. But there was a time that was when we joined the Redeemed Christian Church of God. My mom was
Okay.
like, no, she wants to be a Christian. And then at that point, we started going to church. I think I
Right.
was maybe 10 or 9, 10 at
Right.
that time when
Okay.
we, converted fully and started getting involved in church activities
Right.
and all right there. So before then, it was a few years later when I was 14. I was 14 going on 15. I remember vividly because my mom can be a very strict person. Like
Okay.
she's very disciplined. Like if she needs you, we kind of just fear her, most of us. But at
Oh,
the same
wow.
time, there was a balance.
Okay.
It was also obvious that she really, really loved us and would actually go to any length for us. She was
Okay.
playful,
Okay.
every night. I can remember every night we always play Ludo, several games, and
Okay.
then, at the same time. So it was
So she
like a
was a
two-way
handsome
thing.
mom. She was the playful mom. Was your dad the
Yes,
type that when they
exactly.
horn like that, you people would just scatter? Was your dad that kind of person?
He wasn't that kind of a person. In fact,
Wow.
most of the time when he was just not there, because most of the time he goes to work in the morning, early in the
Right.
morning, and then that's when we are not even awake, and then by
Okay.
night when he comes back, we are asleep.
Wow.
So, but most of the time we saw him. I think maybe he was trying to maybe overcompensate or something. So most of the
Okay.
time he doesn't. He wasn't. He's not really the ash type,
Okay.
sport and all that, as opposed to, how my mom can be or
Right.
was. So yeah, and I also got to know early enough that my mom took a lot of financial responsibility, even though
Mm.
at some when we weren't, we were still little, we didn't really know as much or have an understanding of what was going on.
Right.
She would thought that, oh, she would do something she would do something and say, oh, it's your dad that did it. It was, later
Okay.
that
So she
I
covered a lot for your dad.
covered things, yeah, that I started busting those cover-ups. So basically that was, who she was. And I think they had a lot of um fights and all that on several things. And
Okay.
because of the background, the Muslim background, about, getting cheating was not a thing. So it was like he
Okay.
can get married to wives as he wants.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
stuff that really happened in between. And there was also the part that we were all girls.
Okay.
We
How
were
many
all
of you?
girls, and
How
they
many
were
of you?
looking for a boy. and my at a point my I had a stepsister because my daddy was looking for a boy.
Wow.
We are for my siblings that we both have mom and dad in common. We are four. I'm
You're
the
four.
first. So my
Okay.
mom had a boy before, but
Okay.
yes, the boy we we were actually six, but two of the boys died.
Oh,
The
wow. Were they before you?
No, one was the third born. I think
Right.
he died after a year or so,
Wow.
a year or two. The third
Wow.
one, and there was the last one that after my mom died, the one my mom gave birth to when she died. So after my
Right.
mom died, the boy died as well.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, but
So, so,
there
so
are
when
other
your mom,
siblings that are not from my mom.
okay, so your mom passed on at childbirth. How old were you?
14. I was 14.
And you said the baby
I was
also
14
died.
going on 15.
So you lost a child, and you
Yes.
lost the sibling, and you lost the mom same day.
No, it wasn't the same day. The boy died after 4 months. Yeah,
After 4 months.
after four
Wow.
months.
And you were the first child. So what was your
Yes.
what was it? What was your how were you feeling? You know, a 14-year-old, you just lost your mom and your baby brother died, and you have three other sisters. What was going on in your head?
It was even really worse for me because I was right there from the beginning to the end. So she
Oh wow.
literally actually died in my arms. Like
Oh, so you were right there
even
while she was giving birth.
when we act yes.
Wow.
Yes. I was there. She gave birth. After giving birth, she had internal hemorrhage. So
Wow.
they tried. They were giving her as she was receiving the blood
Blood.
bag. She was
Right.
passing out blood at the same time.
Wow. It wasn't
So at
staying.
a point, the doctor was like, "Oh, they need to do a surgery to remove the part that was bleeding," and
Right.
I felt like it was too late. I felt like it was a decision they should have made way earlier. You
Mm,
know, and
ahead of
and
time.
yes, so they removed it, and it seems like she got better, but I felt like she had lost a lot of
A lot of blood.
blood that she couldn't.
Wow.
Then
And you felt
after the
helpless.
surgery,
You
about
couldn't do
2 hours,
anything.
I had, in fact, I ran across the road. Like I
Wow.
was hoping that something would happen as well.
That there
So
would just
I
be
had
a
like that
miracle.
night alone. I had like three. I was actually saved from like three suicide attempts.
Oh, wow. That night?
So I tried to just say that, oh my God, how can I move from this point with my siblings and myself?
So you had three suicide attempts that night, or they were spaced?
Yes, I think the network is really poor.
Yes, it is. Are you home now? I can hear you, though. Hello, Atinuke. So we're just going to give her a few minutes to settle in. Such an emotional story. You lose your mom right in your presence, at age 14, and you attempted three times to take your life. It must have been so traumatic for her as a young child. Her saying that I've never heard that part of the story. But her saying that and juxtaposing it to the person she is today, I'm like, God, you're awesome. I'm like, God, you're awesome. You are just awesome. See what the devil tried to take. So the truth is that somebody might be hearing this and feeling like, what's the big deal? We all respond to things differently. That's what this is telling me. We respond to traumatic events differently. Honestly, a young girl of 14 now having to manage her siblings, three other siblings, and I'm just going to wait for her to settle in so that she can join us back in, and we can just take it up from there. But I'd really love to hear your comments. Honestly, I'd love to hear your comments. Born in a Muslim home, and that's why for some of us, honestly, that were raised Christians, you know, and we didn't have to go through all that tussle. Her mother wanted to be a Christian. The father said, no, you can't be a Christian, or you can only be a Christian on my own terms. All of the back and forth is traumatic for a child. It's traumatic for a child. Growing up in that environment is traumatic enough for a child. And so it's really important that, but one thing I know is that God does not make mistakes. That's the amazing thing. God does not make mistakes. He did make a mistake in situating Atinuke in that family and raising her that way. It was part of his plan from the very beginning that she was going to have a taste of being a Muslim and then become a Christian. It was all part of God's plan. He didn't make mistake with that at all. He didn't make a mistake that she was born to that family, and it sure isn't a mistake. Even though, according to Atinuke, she felt that the doctor did not, take charge immediately. You know, possibly could have saved her mother's life. And I know that that thought can be very, very heartbreaking, where you're telling yourself and you're feeling like they could have done better, they could have done more, she could have still be alive till today, as in she could have still be alive till now. They could have done more, they could have done better if the doctors had just done what they did before, if they had just thought of it 30 minutes before, thought of it 1 hour before. Peradventure, but the truth is we can't actually live on peradventures. We can't live on had we known, or live on maybe if. No, we live on the reality we have on ground now, and we don't allow what has happened in the past hold us back from enjoying and experiencing the beautiful future that we have. And I believe that is the story of Atinuke, whereby she's been able to allow, herself, uh, uh, use her past as a fuel, as a stepping stone to where God wants to, take her to. And like she said in her introductory, statement, that her story, she believes, how she has met with favor in her life, is a story that is told to encourage others, to help other people, young ladies that find themselves, young girls that find themselves in such similar situation, to be able to know that there is hope, right at the end of the tunnel. It's so funny. I'm still shaking from that a 14-year-old would consider suicide. Guys, it's real. It's real. What people go through, it's real. And we thank God for daily mercies. We thank God for favors. We thank God for people, coincidences in God, people that He sent our way, opportunities, one conversation, one message, one post, something. You never know. So sometimes when God is prompting your heart to do something, to reach out to someone, you really never know what God is doing. What God is doing. And here we are now, an amazing photographer, a business tycoon, amazing fashion entrepreneur who has people that she's paying salaries. So it starts with, I believe, and she's going to come and confirm that, we're just waiting for her to settle down at home. I believe strongly that it's her just telling herself, I can do this. And you heard her. It's not been easy. There were days of doubts. There were days of discouragement. You see, I am an advocate, and I always say it, especially for spiritual leaders. There's nothing wrong in sharing your vulnerability with people. There's nothing absolutely wrong in letting people know your low moments, the days in which you found it hard to get up from the bed. There are days like that. The days in which you are asking yourself, where is God? Yes, it doesn't mean you've lost your faith. There are days when we go through hardship and we go through things, and God has said something, but the situation, the reality on ground is not correlating with what God has said. Honestly, people. So yeah, there are doubtful moments. There are moments when you probably ask yourself, "Am I the only one? Why is all hell breaking loose over me?" Is anybody, has anybody felt like that? You can just share in a comment. You found yourself in that situation where you're like, God, why? Why does it have to be me? Why did it have to be me? Did I have to go through that? Did I have to carry that burden? I'm sure there were days when Tinuke was disappointed. I'm sure where there were days where she had to do things she didn't think she would do, not anything untoward, but do something that she would have to do just to help herself through school. And her younger ones were looking up to her. So today, when you see her flaunt her sister's pictures, and talk about them, it's coming from somewhere. There's a story behind it. There's a story behind the glory. Oh, I'm so waiting for her to come right back, online. I think the network is really so bad, and I guess she's still trying to settle in. But I would really like to hear from us. It's meant to be interactive. I'd love to hear from us. Anything you gleaned from what she said so far, anything you picked from what she said so far. How do we identify this kind of people? A 14-year-old, going through such a thing, already thinking about suicide. What does a 14-year-old even know called suicide? Do we actually have people, who manage us through grief? Do we have such, especially in this part of the world where we are in Africa? Do we actually have people, who are able to walk us through grief? I mean, how do you help a younger? We've seen countless of movies, countless of we've heard and read, watched countless of movies and stories online of people finding themselves in this kind of situation, and it's from one family to the other, one family to the other, one family to the other. And if care is not taken, that child grows up to resent her father, to resent family members, to probably even resent God if it is not nipped in the bud, if it is not addressed quickly, and if there's no divine intervention. Tinuke, we are waiting for you. Oh. We're really waiting for you. Would love you to come back online. Whatever it is, would love you to come back online. Would love you to come back online. I'm waiting for us, please. I'd love to hear from us. Let me see if there are comments on Facebook. It would be nice to hear from us. Yeah, God remains faithful. Yeah. Hi, BC. You're welcome. Nice to have you too. Nice to have you too. Yes, Folake said God indeed is always in the pictures. Thank you, Adunki. Good evening. Patience, you're welcome. So I honestly don't know what is happening with, oh gosh, this shouldn't happen today. Network, behave yourself. I wish I knew her story in depth. I would have shared it with us, but I don't know her story. But I think I can relate with, what she said with, with respect to uh watching her mom die. She was right there all through. I don't think it's an experience people or anyone would desire, to experience, honestly. I witnessed that with my dad, and the image is there. It's just there. It never leaves you. Honestly. Yeah, my dad was peaceful. He was 82. He had lived life to the full, at least, but I'm sure her mom was maybe like 40 plus because she was 14. So come on, her mom was like maybe 40 plus, and watching your mom just slip away, helpless, and not being able to. There's a lot for those of us who enjoyed our mothers to a particular age. That there's a lot that we enjoy. A number of people like Tinuke didn't get to enjoy that. I'm sure one of those days must have been her wedding day, you know, desiring that her mother, was right there with smile on her face, but death came knocking early. So and it's a traumatic thing to experience, honestly. And one thing I love about her also, judging from afar, is her not seeking self-pity. So it's not a case of that, she's, she's seeking for anyone to pity her. No, she has, in the few years I've known her, carried herself so well, and just kept pushing the boundaries. And I believe her life is a story told to encourage a lot of young ladies, young girls who find themselves in those situations. Sometimes we find ourselves in that kind of situation, and you just tell yourself, I'm totally helpless. No, you really don't have to be totally helpless. Someone said there were days when you ask God, where is he? I remember looking through the window, asking God if he truly exists, because I did all I could to conceive. Wow, for 7 years, and nothing was forthcoming. There were years of pains and heartbreak, but today I'm grateful to God. Just this evening, I was bathing and I intentionally called out my daughter to come help scrub my back in the bathroom while I scout. Just once again, I judge God faithful. Awesome. Just that beauty of being able to call your daughter and say, come scrub my back for me. Amazing. I think Atinuke is back, and we are, yes, this is a lot more better. Sorry for all of that. I hope it didn't destabilize you. Can you unmute yourself, please?
No, he didn't. Thank you. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay. It's okay.
it's
So you're
fine.
home now, you're settled.
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
able to
home.
grab a cup of water?
I'm fine.
All right. So you're
Yeah.
welcome back. We still have a few
Thank
more
you.
minutes. And I was just trying to, get the audience engaged before, you came back, online. So I'd
Okay.
like to ask now. So you've talked about um, your mom passed at 14, and you attempted suicide 3 times. And so what happened afterwards? After your mom passed,
Mm.
what was the most challenging thing you had to face without a mother?
There were lots of most challenging things,
Go
you
ahead, please.
know, because we took, of course, we had some times where we had to grieve, people trooping in from church, saying, oh, sorry, if you ever need anything, come to us and all. And for me at that point, I just didn't know, what who or what is going to replace, that huge loss. And the grief for me, I felt like I wouldn't come out of it.
Wow.
And things started happening. And like I mentioned the other time, my mom actually covered a lot of stuff up
Right.
that, so those
Mm,
stuff
the things
started.
mothers do.
Yeah, so
Right.
so those stuff she was covering up, there was, what was the word now? So the space, the vacuum that she was feeling,
Yeah.
it was now so obvious,
Obvious. Mm.
and it started with us not having anything to eat because my
Wow.
dad could go for days without coming home.
Are
And
you for real?
when it comes home, he doesn't, it seems like it's kind of a normal thing, you know and I had to take on that reins immediately. And because I had the last child, our last born, was just about 5 going on 6 or something.
Wow.
And
Wow.
doing caring for her, she has to eat, they have to eat, everybody needs to go to school. And if there's one thing that my mom really valued, was education, and I
Right.
wasn't going to let that stop.
Right.
I started finding ways to make everything, to balance everything up. And
How?
then
You were 14. How were you finding? What exactly were you doing? As in, what crossed your mind? You were 14, going to 15. So
yeah,
you were probably in secondary school.
yeah, I was in secondary school.
Right.
First, I had to stop going to school. I was
Oh
in
wow.
SS2. I had to stop going to school so that I could find a job, to
Wow.
see what can come out of that. And then, um if we don't have money, some people from church, actually extended during the time they came to greet us and all. When they are going, they can drop something financial, some money and all. And then, of course, it's finished. I
Of
would have
course.
to go to someone. There's some people that sell stuff on my street. I'll go and tell them that when my daddy gets back, I'm going to give them the money. Just give
Wow.
me like a one jerrycan of rice or one cup of
Wow.
rice, maybe grounded pepper, something, so that
Wow.
my sisters can eat.
So your
Sometimes,
sisters were looking up to you.
yeah, to feed them. So,
Wow.
you know, one of the my sister's school, one of the last born, the proprietor told me that, that she can come to school as long as she wants, that she is going to give her that scholarship. But there
Wow.
was still my other two sisters.
Okay.
And what's really trying to feed and trying to get money for us to get to school
School.
was already huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to a point, my dad did not pay the rent for.
Wow.
So we're now having shelter problems. Our stuff were thrown out of the house.
Wow.
We
Wow.
actually, to be fair to the landlord, we stayed for a year and a half, and he didn't collect any money. He was still like, oh, these people are still grieving, these people are still grieving. But, that's some source of income for him as well. And he couldn't even do it himself. He had to go to the court. They came with plenty things to throw our stuff out. And I
Right.
remember picking my sisters, and then we had to. So I was living in Alagbado, and
Okay.
my uncle from my mom's side lives in Songo.
Okay.
So we didn't have money. So I don't know if anybody know that area really well. The little money we had couldn't get us to Songo. We had
Wow.
to trek first to Ajegunle. Then after trekking to
Wow.
Ajegunle, we now tried to get a cab to get us to Songo.
That's the four
And
of you. Four
yeah,
of you together.
yes, 4 of us.
Four girls.
4 of us. So we got there, for about 3 days, 4 days, maybe a week. And then my uncle then came to say, oh, that, okay, I can remember when the court came to throw our stuff out. We called my dad, and he said, oh, we should wait. He was coming to sort it out. And we waited for hours. It was
Wow.
when we were like, oh, this man is not coming, that I now
Are you
decided
for
to
real?
make that decision, yeah, to go. So after about a week, my uncle came up to me to say that, oh, that, you know I can't even remember how he said it, but honestly, it didn't make any sense. Like I thinking about it, I'm just like, it just what he said didn't make any sense. To cut the long story short, Isha told us to leave his house.
Okay, the four of you.
Yes. So we went back because I didn't know where else to go. So I went back to the place where the same house they threw us out.
Right.
All our stuff was still out there, and I just sat in front of the house with my sisters, and then someone in front of my house that has a house, it's a bakery, and the woman just saw us. It was like, I've been seeing you there, that I thought you went to your uncle's place, and I said, my uncle said we should come back, and then I don't know where else to go with my sisters. I don't have any other family members. In fact, I don't even have the money to move them anywhere. And it was like, oh, like there's a store in their house that
Okay.
she will speak with her husband if we are able to live in the
Okay.
store.
A store.
Uh it was better than nothing.
Oh, sure.
So
Oh,
I
sure.
she
Definitely.
she
Way
came she
better than
came
living under the bridge and stay. Four
Yeah.
girls.
Yes.
Thank God that you were not even taken advantage
They
of.
just mm.
Yes, because that is my own major concern. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So she asked us to stay, and then we moved in with her. But it was becoming a because it wasn't that they were really well to do as well. They also had their own kids. I think at that time they had like two kids, two or three
Okay.
kids at that time. And they fed us when they could. In fact, their husband had a bakery inside the building as well. We
Wow.
ate a lot of bread, so much I don't
Wow.
like bread right now.
Wow. You ate so much bread, you've eaten enough for your whole life.
For the
Lifetime.
for my life. And you know
But they were magnanimous to have
yes, they
taken four
were
girls,
very, she still
giving
calls
you a,
me
a
up to
roof over your
today.
head.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had to
Yes.
move some of our stuff in there, some things that we could carry, some stuff, they just got spoiled on. I think my dad came after some few weeks, and he was like, he was trying to, I don't know, he gave a lot of excuses. And so at that
Wow.
point where, I just couldn't take it anymore. There was no way I could, take care of everybody anymore, and also under that roof, I some of our church members were like, oh, maybe one of my sisters can stay with our sister
Okay.
somewhere. So that was my immediate younger sister. I went to stay with her.
Right.
Later, somebody came to say, oh, maybe my other sister, the last born, can come
Right.
stay with her. She went to stay with her.
Okay.
So I was working at the same time. In fact, I worked in places. I was teaching. I went to tutorials. So I made sure that even though I was not in school, I was attending
Okay.
tutorials, and I
Okay.
enrolled to write my WAEC and my
Wow.
JAM
So after the
at the same
incident, you didn't go
time.
back to school.
No, I didn't.
You just wrote your WAEC.
Yes. So I just went to
Wow.
tutorials and wrote my
Tutorials and
WAEC,
then you wrote your WAEC.
because I
Okay.
just made that decision, like, the money because I was going to my mom was, we didn't have a lot, right? But she always wanted the best for us.
Right.
So my school, it might be surprising that my school was actually one of the top private schools that I was going to, but so I couldn't keep up with
You
paying
couldn't
for the
keep
school
up.
fees.
That's right.
Yeah, so she always try, even if it means she's not going to eat, or not going to be able to afford certain things. She made sure that's one of the reasons I really miss my mom a lot, because
Yeah.
even though if we don't have anything, she always try her best to make sure that
Yeah.
we had the best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had to leave, and it was cheaper to go to tutorials to be able
Tutorial.
to write my
And you
my
were working as
exams.
well too.
Yes, I was working. I was teaching. I taught in a place where it was really far. I would trek there every day on empty stomach. At the end of the month, the man did not pay anything. It was
Wow.
really tough. The man won't pay anything. Second month, I had to leave. I had to look for another job, another teaching job. The man too was not paying well. He was not paying consistently. Then I got a job with so a friend of mine told me that, oh, someone was looking for a secretary. No,
Okay.
before that job, I went out. If anybody knows that Alagbado area very well, so I lived in Mosholashi. I walked from Mosholashi all through the road looking for a job. Like, you know, all
Hmm.
those people that put signposts outside
Right.
that they
Right.
need this thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't get any until I got to Ijayi bus stop.
Wow. I
So when
don't
I
know
got
that geography well, but I can
like
imagine that it is far.
quite a distance, and then when I got there I saw this banner saying they needed a secretary. And like I said, my mom always makes sure that we had the best. When I was going
Right.
to school, when she was alive, she enrolled me in computer school after school.
Okay.
So when I leave
Okay.
school, so I was proficient with Microsoft Word at that
At
age.
that early
So
age, that
yes,
was awesome. Right.
so they were like secretary, Microsoft Word, proficiency, something something. So I entered the place, went to meet the man, said I would like to work there, and he was like, oh, he knows me.
Hmm.
Like when he heard my name, he was like, oh, I know you. I'm like, oh, sir, I don't know you. It was like he taught me when I was in nursery,
Wow.
like that, oh, you would really like to employ me. What happened? Why are you trying to look for a job? I told him that my mom is late, I'm trying to, and she said, oh, okay. I was okay. I think the salary was 6K or something then. And I
Wow.
said, no problem, I would go. And then a week, in fact 3 days into the, it was one of the most surprising, like, it still bothers me till today, that I felt like, if you know me like as little as
Wow.
I think, am I still on?
Yes, you're on. I can see you're back. You're back
Oh,
on.
okay. All right. So, like, if you know me when I was little, you shouldn't start trying to take advantage of me, because
Mm.
three days into the
Job.
job, it was trying to touch me in places, that's trying to assault
Wow.
me.
An
And
elderly man.
an elderly man, with wife and kids, and the building was soundproof. The building was soundproof, and even if I screamed, if anything went further than that, nobody was going to hear me, right?
Yeah.
So I just left, right?
So you had to
I was
leave the
just like,
job.
I had to leave in a week. I had to leave the
Wow.
job, you know
Wow.
I had to leave the job.
If I were to
I
ask you,
remember that
were there moments where there were advances from people for in exchange for
several,
money?
even from my church. I did
Wow.
another job as well. I did another job that I had to leave before. So I had said that I was going to forfeit a year and not go to school to work, because the pay was quite good then. The guy was willing to pay me 10,000. He was a lecturer
Okay.
at Yabatek. He had the computer school,
Okay.
and I went there and he employed me. He had a wife. In fact, the building was inside his house that he built then.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was to mark some scripts and input some data.
Right.
And one day, because as a result of not eating and all those, I developed ulcer, and I was having one of my ulcer issues, and my tummy was really bad, and he was like, oh, that I can go in to rest in the sitting room, right?
Okay.
And before I know it, I was resting. He started coming to touch my body. Meanwhile, his wife was inside the room. He started
Wow.
coming to touch me in places, that happened. I at that Because I left my other job because of that. I didn't want to leave because I had planned this, that I was going to save money so that I
Yeah.
could go to school the next
Cool.
year,
So
right?
you had planned
So
your 1 year.
Yes, and I was like, oh, I just hope this does not happen again, right? And it was quite a generous month because apart from my salaries, he usually make sure he gives me transport fare back home. I was just like, I was not going to touch my
Your main
salary at
salary.
all. I was going to save up and all. And then it happened again, and I knew that it would actually continue. So I stopped. I stopped. It
Wow.
was not even up to a month. I stopped, and I was just, I didn't even know that what I had then was faith. And I just said that I'm going to go to school. I don't know how I'm
How?
going to pay for it. I already, I was on redemption camp on the day that I was supposed to go do my post UTMA, and I didn't even have money to leave redemption camp. So I met someone on camp, a friend of mine, and we're just talking. I told my dad that I need to go and do this post to him. He said he was going to send me recharge card so that I will sell on redemption card and camp and go to
Wow.
Abeokuta and go and write my exams. This friend of mine, I was just talking to him and he just said that what if he does not send the card? What are
Wow.
you going to do? I said, I don't know. I don't have any money, and this is redemption camp. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'll just be stuck here. And the guy just was just like, oh, let me just give you the tea fare to go do it. And it was just God. I felt like it was God that sent him to,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me to give me. And then I
Yeah.
went to do my post. I got the admission. I pushed one of my friends that was trying to go to OAU then that apply for this school too as well. And she applied, she got in. I was like, let's just go, right? We don't
Right.
even know where we wanted to live. Just like, let's just make plans to go. I
Yeah.
feel like God is going to. We were both in the choir in our home church then. That
Right.
I feel like God was going to,
Sort you
sort us
out.
out.
Right.
Right. So, like a week before we left for school, she said, "Oh, there's a guy who was a senior in secondary school that is doing part time at Mapoli. That he said we can come. That he's going to not sleep in the room. Like he can always stay with his friends, but his stuff
Okay.
will still be in the room.
Be in the room.
But he will just come in, maybe read, go to school since it is school or that
Right.
he would just be staying at his friend's place till we are able to, you
Get your
know,
own
get
accommodation.
our
That's
own
fine.
accommodation. So we went, right? So my church gave us, food stuff, pots
Right.
and all that. That
Right.
was what we actually went with.
So at this
And I
point, your
think
sisters were already living with some people.
other people were, yeah,
Okay. So at least
they were
they were
already
they were
living
being
with other
taken
people.
care of. All right.
Yes, yeah. So that was how I went to school. In fact, I almost at a point when I couldn't pay my school fees. We were allowed to pay 60% of our school fees first and pay the rest later. I
Right.
couldn't pay my school fees. I had worked to make sure to pay my acceptance fee,
Yeah.
and I worked in construction sites. I
Right.
did there was a time I learned. That was how my entrepreneurship, that was not how I think I was doing entrepreneurship before my mom died because she believed in so much. So we would make sweets. I'll go and sell it to my classmates and all.
Okay.
So I started selling some things, gathering some things, and then some money from some church member that'll say, "Oh, you're in school, I'll send you 2K. Oh, you're in school, I'll send you 1K."
Wow.
But then the money was still not enough to pay my
Apparently.
school fees.
Yeah.
Right? I'd already packed my bag, like exams is tomorrow. If you don't pay your school fees, you're not,
You won't write the exam.
you won't write exams. And then overnight, my choir mistress, because I joined the choir again when I went to school, my
Right.
choir mistress just called me because she knew about, I told her about how I'm
Yeah.
trying to pay my school fees. Just called me and said that she got the money, that I should just come and get it. I can add it up and go and pay 60% of my school fees then. And that
Wow.
was how I stayed in school. And all through, because the reason why I didn't bother trying for university at all,
Mm.
because I went to do polytechnic because I said I'll do my OND for 2 years. I'll have 1 year to work to be able to take
Okay.
care of my sisters because they were
Right.
still calling, they
But
were
it
having
seems like
issues.
it seems like you've always been a planner. You've always been a purposeful person. It seems like you always like, let me just, and I don't want to say it comes to you easy to just make that sacrifice, but well, I think your mom will be happy wherever she is that you came first, because you just seem to have been able to just take responsibility even at a young age. Hearing you, you've said this statement like two, three times now, where you are thinking of your sisters ahead, and you are willing to put yourself, and pause and say, let's just do this, and then I will do this. Let me walk, and then I will do this, and
Yeah.
I just want to, acknowledge that in you, and celebrate
Thank
that in
you.
you, honestly. Yeah, go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you. So where was I? That was how I
You
I
went through
just
OND.
that ending one. I went through the ending one. I was able to get my accommodation from working, doing some odd jobs, selling some stuff with my classmates and all. And after my ND, and I went to look for a job for my
Yeah.
high tea, I think God just, gave me that path, just opened that path before me. I got a
Mm.
job with one of the honorary members of House of Assembly in Ogun State.
Wow.
And the job was not even for the government, it was for his own personal business.
Business.
Right? I don't even know if I couldn't have been working anywhere to get that kind of opportunity, right?
Mm.
So there was this center that we usually have weekly service. So at that point, I was no longer in RCCG. I was attending House on the Rock. I was
Yeah.
attending House on the Rock, and we usually have our weekly Thursday weekly service at
Right.
a place, because it was a small church that was just starting at that time. We could only afford to pay for the Sunday place. But for
Right.
the Thursday venue, somebody actually volunteered their space for us to use, a training center. So at that training center, I had joined the ushering department in House on the Rock. I joined because there was a need. I was just like, there are a lot of people in choir, but there's someone that needs to do ushering.
Right.
So
And if I can
I
chip in a bit now, there's another thing I've also noticed in your story. The place of service to God has also opened doors for you,
yeah,
because you've mentioned how you were, committed in your home church, how
yeah,
you were committed even the moment you got into university, and all those, commitments open doors for you, because I can
yeah.
see that,
It did.
yes, you left RCCG, you joined House on the Rock. You didn't join House on the Rock and become a floor member. You joined
Mm,
House on the Rock. You gave your service as well. You need
mm,
people in ushering. I'm available. And I just want to say that, just to highlight that service, there's a place of service,
of service.
even in the midst of what we're going through. Because what happens
Mm,
most times is that when people are going through things like this, they put service aside. They even put
mm,
God. God is like the last option sometimes. When they've tried every other thing, they now come back and say, okay, God, I'm here. But
mm,
with your story, I can see that there's always been that place for God and that place
mm,
for service. And kudos to
mm.
you. That
Thank
is so
you.
amazing. That is so amazing.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Ma. Thank you, Ma. So, because I was in the ushering department, I usually go to church to clean before anybody comes in, with
Okay.
my colleagues. And the place is a training center. They are just closing up to give us space. And,
Right.
that was how somebody that was also using the office, I got to know the person. Olawale Ayilara is the CEO of Landway right now.
Okay.
So at that point, he was like, oh, that there's somebody he knows that wants to hire a secretary. That am I available? And I'm like, oh, sure, that I'll be willing to, work for the man. And that was how I got the job. In fact, before I could resume at the man's office, because I was still trying to get the office together, I had to work for the
Okay.
Wale Ayilara. He had a vocational school. We would
Okay.
go share flyers in the sun to get people to come to pay for the vocational school before I
Right.
was stationed permanently. And then the man got to know, not really, because one thing about me is that it is actually really hard for me to actually ask for help, and that is as a result of the kind of mom I had, who tries her
Mm-hmm.
best at every point. So I
Yeah.
usually feel like, I have all that I need. And whereas at when my mom died, it was too late for me to be somebody that, will have to be asking
Yeah.
people for money or asking people for stuff.
Yeah.
Except they get to know. Even when people get to know stuff, maybe I'm a bit moody because something is happening. It surely takes some time. My husband can testify. It actually takes some time for me to, open up and say, oh, this is what I actually need at this time. And because I had been independent for a long time.
Oh wow.
Anyway, the man got to know about me and all. And he told me, he said that, and it's not like he's like a Christian person like that, but he's a Christian. And when I said I was going to end my job at the end of 1 year, and or continue if I cannot afford to do my HND, he
Right.
told me that I could. He told me I could do both.
Hmm.
That so far the work just gets done. That I should
Done.
enroll for my HND, and
Wow.
work full time for him, collect full time salary, and
And
also go
still
to school
go to
full
school.
time at the same time.
Wow.
And he was supporting me. And there was a point, my fellowship pastor in House on the Rock, he told me something. He said that your you need to actually pray for pray to God to raise mothers and fathers for you. They
Mm.
necessarily don't have to be somebody that you have to be devoted to, like be
Yeah.
doing mommy home, but
Yeah.
that they would just come to your aid at every point in time. And I saw that change in my life. And when I started praying with confessions, and not just about asking and say, oh God, what is happening, what is da, 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 but started confessing the things that I really want to see, the changes that I want to see in my life. So I usually pray in faith and call the things that are not as though they were. And one incident happened that made me see that um God was actually raising helpers, mothers, and fathers for me and for
Yeah.
my sisters. So there was a time, usually during dry seasons in Abeokuta, there won't be water in most places. Most
Yeah.
well will be dried up. And
Yeah.
my house was one of that. And we didn't have water. We decided to go and look for water. Maybe people that had taps or something. So there was this house, like the fourth house after mine. We went there and to fetch water because of my tribal marks. The man was there like, you have the owner of the building was there like, oh, you have tribal marks. Are you a Muslim? Or how did you get the tribal mark on something? I was like, oh, I was a Muslim before, but I'm not a Christian. I was like, oh, what's your surname? I said, my surname is Junaid. The man was there like, oh, nice. The man said, oh, okay. We sure had some conversation around school and what I wanted to do after school and all. And the
Right.
man like, oh, that since I need that he needs to go, that let him just give him his contacts that we can talk more about it. Really, I collected the contacts because of jobs. That
Okay.
he's a lawyer. He said he was a lawyer. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
mind doing any secretarial this thing. So I went to the man's place, to his office, and we got talking. He got to know about my story and all. And then the man said to me that the reason he gave me his contacts was so that he was looking for a Mapoli girl that he could date.
Wow.
That, but honestly, he just wants to be there for me, no strings attached.
Wow.
I was like, it was so surprising that he confessed to me that, oh,
What
that he
he
was just looking
intended
for
to do.
what he
Mm.
intended to do. And I just felt like it could only be God that could, change your heart
God
and be
turned
like,
their counsel.
at him. And he's not like he's even a believer. He's a Muslim. And it was
Wow.
just like, I just feel like I need to take care of you, no strings attached, whatever you need. And right there and then, it was like, this should be enough for your school fees. And he just brought out a check and wrote
Wow.
me a check and said this should be enough for your, although it wasn't enough, but he thought that that was how much our school fees was. So he just
Right.
gave it to me. It was like half of the money, you know. And then one day again, I was just walking back. He was just driving past me. I was like, "Oh, how are you? So have you paid your school fees? Are you okay? Are you good?" I said I've not paid it, but because the money was not. He was like, "Ah, you should have told me." And right
Wow.
there in the car again, he wrote me another check. I said, "Oh, go
Wow.
and pay your school fees." Same thing with my boss that I was working with as well. It was like, do you need your school fees? How much is it?
Wow.
Let's do it,
Wow.
you know.
Wow.
And my sisters were having issues with those people they were staying with, because I felt like, because they were teenagers
Yeah.
and because they were not with people that were family. If
Yeah.
I had a child, or if my sister was with me and they were doing certain things, because they are family, I know that I cannot, there's no way I can throw them. We
Yeah.
have to find a way to talk through it
Yeah.
and, suggest ways where they can be better and all.
Yeah.
But because it wasn't so, I was usually, when I see calls from any of them, it was always on top of my mind, like, what is this person saying at this
Mm-hmm.
point? They'll just be like, they should be going, I'm going to come and pick them
Wow.
up every
Wow.
time, right? I was having anxiety that what would this person say? I'm not even stabilized where I am. If this person just call me out of the blue that I'm
Yeah.
sending your sister out or come and
Yeah.
recall your sister, and that was also part of my prayers at that point, to say, I need stability,
Right.
right? And there were also a lot of things that I had to heal from, that I
Yeah.
specifically created time with God to talk about, so that I
Yeah.
could heal from them. And my
Yeah.
past and all the things that I've gone
And
through were
forgiving
not
your
going to
dad must have been
afford.
top on your list.
Yeah, yeah. We're not going to affect, my relationship with people, and where God was taking me to,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we see a lot of people that have gone through stuff and
Right.
it is affecting their future, not because they
For
really
sure.
want to do it, but
Yeah.
because of what they've gone through,
Yeah.
and that was really important to me. It was a lot of struggle.
Mm.
And when I went to my sister, my third sister, that was living with my sister, my auntie, that was my mom's younger sister, she was living there at Oshodi, and she was hawking. Even when things were tough for us, they all knew that my mom was against street hawking. She
Mm.
would rather be the one to hawk than let her children. So we were like, you wouldn't believe that we were not that well to do, because she covered
Yeah.
us. She made us feel so special, like we were
Yeah.
from a rich home or something.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things because she did it. She
Yeah.
knew how hawking
Yeah.
or suffering could be. She vowed that our kids were not going to go through
Experience
all of
that.
that. Our
Wow.
kids were not going to experience that. And my mom's family knew all this, but they still allow my sister go through it. And then they said, oh, I remember my sister was in the drama department in church. They said, oh, she cannot go to church, she has to be a Muslim because they are Muslims. There were a lot of things. She was about 8 years old, and Oshodi was not even the way it is now. It was
Wow.
really rough.
Wow. She
She
was
was
8
hawking
years
pure
old.
water. Yes,
Wow.
she was hawking pure water morning and afternoon. During
Wow.
Ramadan, she will hawk ogi at eight,
Wow.
and I went there countless of time, because they are older than me. Please, somebody, my neighbor in school, who saw me crying and praying one day at the backyard, was like, what's that? She wants to help. After she prayed with me, that she wants to help, she was like, oh, from her salary that she was going to be giving me 5,000 naira every month, that she can't take
Wow.
her, we will take care of her. I went there like twice or three times, asking them that, okay, somebody said this thing, I can take care of her, just let
Yeah.
me take her.
Let me.
They did not agree. They were saying,
Wow.
oh, am I saying that they cannot take care of their own sister's child? I'm like, she's not even going to school. That was the thing that was bothering me,
Wow.
coupled with her hawking. She was not going to school. And I felt, of course I was responsible. It was not like I felt responsible alone. I felt like my mom's dream was just going down the drain.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
for a year, more than or close to 2 years, she was not going to school. So
Wow.
I had to,
just go and pick her. In fact, I
Forcefully.
literally kidnapped her. I just
Wow.
told her, oh, and I came to see her. They said, oh, okay. I told her to see me off. See off. Leave your clothes. Leave whatever. Which clothes? We go to Qatar, go and buy 100
Wow.
clothes. Just follow me because your future is important, you know.
Wow.
And then up to now, they are still fighting with me for that.
Wow.
For that move. But I know that, you know, she's better for it.
Wow.
She's better for
Wow.
it.
Wow. What a story. Our time is far gone, honestly, but it's been worth it, honestly. And your story is such an encouragement. A few things that are pointed out, like I said earlier, your commitment to God, your the place of service, and your strive for a purposeful life, I think are the things that kept you going. And it's something I also noticed, coupled with the prayer that you said the pastor asked you to pray, which is praying to God to raise you mothers and fathers. I believe strongly that that is so key. And one thing I tell people is that there are no coincidences in God. There are only God incidences. I like to put it that
Yeah.
way. And coincidences are like, I saw a quote some time ago that said coincidences are like God remaining anonymous. So in your story, I have seen God raise people, especially those you didn't know, those that were not related to you, those that were
Yeah.
not family, and he just raised help at different points in time.
Points.
See the one that showed up the night before you wrote your exam and said,
Yeah.
here is the money for 60% of the school fees. See the man you met that even had ulterior motive, came
Motives.
and confessed himself and said, this is what I was planning, but God changed his plan and his counsel overnight. So I see that now. I understand fully what you were saying when you said that your life, if you were to explain it in a nutshell, is like you writing a script of favor. It's like you saying that my life has just experienced one favor to another, and then having to do all of that for your siblings and having to go through that emotional, pain. Each time you see their number on your phone, you are wondering, Kilo Tuti Shebai, what has she done? And all of that. And but I think if we fast forward, quickly because of time, looking back today, tell me 4 major lessons that you've learned. Looking back today, like I said, and I repeat it again, you are not there yet. Nobody is there yet. And I'm sure
Yes.
you agree with me. We're all work in progress.
Yeah.
But we can also acknowledge the little steps we've taken and the little victories we've had, which in your case, you've actually celebrated a few victories in your business and in that. I'm sure if we were to talk about your business, that would be another conversation entirely. Your
Entirely.
ups and downs, your challenges, that would be a different conversation entirely. But looking back from where you're coming from and where you are today, 4 things that you've learned that have kept you through that season.
Okay. Um. Number one thing is, especially if you're a believer, it's usually hard. It is easier said than done, but it is important to know that as a believer, you are God's daughter or son,
Mm,
and that even though some things might seem like it's not, it cannot work. There's no way this thing can come together. Like you've looked at this from left, right, center, but knowing that God knows you even before you were formed, and at every point in time, is either there is a lesson for
yeah.
that thing that you are going through, or there is actually a bigger breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I've learned that in whatever I am going through, I should not be quick to actually ask God that, oh, how do I come out of this situation?
Mm.
Instead, I should ask God that, what are the lessons
What are the lessons you're trying
you
to
want me to
help me
get
learn?
from this
Yeah,
situation?
that's right.
Because, for instance, after school, I had a missing script. I couldn't go for service when others were going for service.
Wow.
And because I've had that understanding and that point, everybody, I when it first happened, I cried. I was like, oh, I won't go for service when everybody is going for service. How am I going to sort this out? And there were a lot of issues arising with the missing scripts and all. But everybody at the later time, that was like maybe a few days, everybody was surprised at my calm. Like I wasn't really agitated or trying
Right.
to lobby, and that was a time when that year that I didn't go for service was a turning point for my life.
Right.
That was when I started the NGO.
Wow.
And that was, I did a lot of things. That was when I started my business and really faced my business at that point. So it was a lesson, and there was a reason for that situation.
The setback was actually
Yes.
to help you
Help me.
step
Exactly.
up.
Exactly.
The setback was to step you up. Right.
Exactly. So at every point, like I said, it's easier said than done. But it is important because so far you're a child of God, you're a believer. You know that this moment, this season that you are in, God is actually with you. And there's actually a reason, it could be for yourself or it could be for a message to other people, that cannot go through it on their own. That will need your support, that will need, God wants you to go through it at that
you
point.
go through, others don't have to go through. So you go through on behalf of others. Yes.
Others. Exactly. So that's number one. And number two is the place of knowledge, like looking for knowledge. It doesn't, whether you need it or not, whether you feel like you need this thing or not, but trying to make sure that your journey is a lifelong learning. You are trying to learn new things, know things, going just like violently or aggressively going for knowledge, looking for knowledge, knowing things, and then just learning, honestly. Just learning things,
seeking to
reading
improve
books, doing
yourself at
research.
every point in time.
Yeah, at every point in time. And developing, that self-development is really important, because you never know when an opportunity will come up.
That's right.
And everything that you've learned will now, be able to be useful at that point.
Right.
Yes. So another thing that I've also learned is also being willing to help people at every point, serving and not expecting anything back
in return.
Especially whether from that person or from anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you just give, when people think about giving, money is also important, but giving your time, giving your knowledge, just giving, honestly, is really important, even when it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, when it's not comfortable
to give. Yeah. So the fourth one would be to not care about what other people say except what God says about you.
Yeah.
To not care about what other people say. You can, do things. So far, God, you've, check it out with God. And you're like, you need to execute this thing. A lot of people, what is stopping them from doing from the next stage of their life is actually execution. And in executing, they are thinking of, oh, if I do this thing now, what will someone say? What will other people say? They care so much about what other people or what the society, say about them, other than what they think about themselves and what God think about them.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Atinuke. So the first one you talked about just knowing and having this understanding that you're not a mistake. God is in the very picture of everything concerning your life. It's not easy at times when you're going through it, but having it at the back of your mind that at every season in your life, there's a reason for it. And if there's a delay, if there's a disappointment, if there's a setback, instead of asking, God, why me? Ask and say, Lord, what do I need to learn from this, and all of that. And of course, you talked about seeking knowledge and just going for knowledge, craving for knowledge, wanting to know, wanting to expand your horizon, wanting to and these things are actually at our disposal. It's just us
Yeah.
taking advantage of it,
Of it.
honestly. It's us taking advantage of it, seeking for, not being lazy. There are too many entitled people, and I'm sure you know that you've met
Yeah.
them. Too many entitled people. You just feel like, oh, don't you know that I lost my mother at 14? Then this and this should happen to me. Then you should be this and this to me. No, life doesn't happen that way. So that is one thing. You seek knowledge, you push for knowledge. The fourth thing you said is serving others with your gifts,
Yeah.
serving others with what you have, your time, your knowledge, your resource, not necessarily even money. Sometimes it's just being there, it's just a counsel, and all of that. And then, of course, the last one is care only what God is saying. Let's not move with the trend and what the society will say,
Same.
seeking for the attention and the applause of the society and social media and the plenty followers and plenty likes, and how these things just mumbo jumbo, just distract us from the main purpose. So these are actually amazing lessons, that I believe has kept you going, all these years. And I'm super grateful to God, for where God is yet taking you to, because there's still a whole lot of other ladies, young girls out there that still need to hear your story and would be encouraged, with and by your story. I know that you got married about 3 years ago, right?
Yes. Yes.
About 3 years ago, to your heartthrob, and your sisters are doing amazingly well. I can see their pictures. We see their pictures on social media, and you are doing amazingly well. And we can only pray that God would, continue to uphold you, and these things that has kept you all these years will continue to keep you, even into the brighter future that God has for you. That is just ahead of you here, in Jesus' name, that God would uphold you and your
Amen.
sisters. And as we
Amen.
have celebrated your wedding, we will do same for your sisters in due season, in Jesus' name. And I know
Amen.
you're gonna
Amen.
be so happy and full of joy on that day when you have to either walk your sisters down the aisle, feeling so proud. And I'm sure that you know that your mother also is proud of you. And I believe also that whatever it is, you've also, forgiven your father. He only acted based on what he knew and the resources he had with him. But thank God that regardless of that, God was able to make a way for you. And I think that is what I'm taking away from my conversation with you today. That regardless of what happens to us, regardless of the roadblocks we meet along the way, regardless of the disappointments, even from those who are close to us, like a father, God always has a plan B. And if we can just trust him as we journey, he would unfold that plan B, for us. If I were to ask you that some 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, did you ever think or imagine that you would be where you are today? Yes, you probably projected it, but you've seen the hand of God, take you through those years. So your parting words as we put this to a close this evening, in 1 minute, what would you like to say as we, wrap this up?
Okay. Parting word. Ah, okay. I'll just say that, if one thing, okay, right. Um, that you should not compare your journey with, especially people that you don't really know what their story is. And especially in this world of so much social media, that it's so heavy, and a
Right,
lot of
right.
people, and just walk that path alone, walk that path on your own with God, and
Mm.
everything works out at the
I
end.
want to ask a question quickly. If there was
Okay.
anything you would want to undo, is there anything that, looking back, you would, if you were given an opportunity, you would want to undo? Is there anything like that in your story?
Nothing really. Maybe my choice of school. Nothing really, honestly.
You probably would have chosen to go to where now? Harvard, Oxford, or OAU, Ibadan, the first and the best.
Probably I would have. I think that I would have survived as well if I had gone to university straight up. But like I
Okay.
said, everything is,
Yeah, everything works together
according to
for
God's
good.
plan. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And there are no regrets in God. So
Yeah. I don't regret it.
there's nothing like, oh, my time in Moshood was wasted. No, everything
No.
adds up, at the end of the day. And when we look at the bigger picture, hello beauty. When we look at the bigger picture, and it all adds up. So yeah. And what you just said is so true now, your parting words, which is that
Mm.
people should not get carried away. People look at you today now, and I'm sure that whenever you get the opportunity to share with people, you don't fail to do that. I'm sure people
Mm.
look at you and they just assume that Atinuke has always been like this.
Like this.
Atinuke's life must be bubbling. Atinuke's life must be all rosy, but at every point in time when you get the opportunity, especially the younger girls, please don't fail to let them know there is a
Mm.
story behind the glory.
Behind it.
I
Mm.
remember reading a book of T.D. Jakes, and he was saying that, some people came to him and said, oh, Pastor T.D. Jakes, I would really like you to pray for me, lay hands on me. I really want the anointing upon your life. I want to be able to do the things you're doing. Look at your church. He said he allowed the man to finish talking. He now said, okay, let us pray. Then he held his hand and started praying. He said, Father, Lord, help this man know what it feels like to lose his mother. Help this man know what it feels like to have an empty church that you're preaching for years, the same message, and nobody's come. The man's head is saying, well, hold on. I thought what? I said you pray for me, you're cursing me. He said, no. You wanna have what I'm enjoying now, but you don't want to go through what I've been through. No, it doesn't happen that way. I'm not cursing you. I'm just letting you know that I didn't show up. I didn't just show up from the
Mhm.
blues. I have a
Mhm.
story. I have a
Mhm.
journey. I have a story
Mhm.
to tell. There were days, like you said, your sister was hawking. It would have
Mm.
broken your heart to hear that and to see that. I'm
Mm.
telling you, you would have questioned a lot of things and wondered a lot of things. You were
Yeah.
eating bread till now you don't even want to eat bread again. You understand? There were days you didn't have food, you developed ulcer because of
Mm.
that. I mean, but in summary, the Bible says all things work
Work
together
together.
for our good.
Good
The all things is not limited to the good things. It's
things.
got the
Mm.
bad things, the bad
Mm.
experiences, the bad decisions, the wrong choices, the bad things that happen along the way. The Bible says, at the end of the day, because we are His own, it works
Mm.
together for our good. So thank you so
Mm.
much, Atinuke, for joining
Thank
me on this
you.
conversation. I hope you had a wonderful time too, as well.
Yeah, I did. Thank you all so much for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And my love to your husband and your sisters and the entire family. God bless you
Okay.
and bless all your endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We had such a wonderful time. Sorry we took longer than we thought, but it was such a wonderful, inspiring time, with that Tinuke. If you missed it, someone said I missed the beginning. You can always replay. Don't worry, it will always be there on the wall and it will be on YouTube. You can always replay. It was such an inspiring story for a 14-year-old girl to have gone through all of that, attempted suicide 3 times, to have, been abandoned, been neglected, thrown out of the house with 3 other younger girls, had men approaching her for sex in exchange for money, having to send her way through school, living on faith and just trusting God. I mean, there's a whole lot to learn, from her story. And I'm waiting to hear your own story too, because I know that every one of us, we all have a story to tell. And our story is meant to be our evangelical tool. So tell your story. Never shy away from it. Never shy away from it. God is counting on you. Everything works together for your good. Till I come your way again next week, Tuesday, with another amazing guest. Of course, by now we know who she is, Raquel, because we've had the other 2 guests. And I tell you, that is another, quote me, inspiring story you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss. 7 p.m. like clockwork. I will be right in your faces, in your rooms, in your bedrooms, in the toilet, wherever you go with your phone. I am right there with you, 7 p.m. on Tuesday next week. And once again, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and do so so that you can be reminded of the videos when they come on Pimo Secrets on YouTube. Thank you, and thank you for everyone who joined in, who contributed, who commented. Thank you. Yes, someone said, Bukola Jai said, do not compare your journey with others. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you. Bye.